All right. Welcome, everybody, back again for another episode of your favorite true crime and criminal culture talk show, the True Crime Talk Show, brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. And my name is Brendan.
And I'm Malia.
And welcome to the show. All right, so quick intro here. I apologize. We are a few minutes late. We were running to get here to go through the second half of what we were talking about last night with everybody. A two-part series, unplanned two-part series. It just ended up being that much conversation, but that's okay because everyone enjoyed it. Everyone had a good time, and it was some good content, especially with some of the new context that we have in the Idaho for criminal case, the court case that we're watching that is currently going through the Idaho court system with Bryan Kohberger. And if you missed last night's episode, we are picking up the document that we were reading right in the middle. All right, we are picking it up right where we left off, so you're gonna miss a major portion of that. You probably don't need to go back to that now. You're probably okay to start here because we've been breaking down each paragraph and then adding in some updates that have come historically, because this document is from when Bryan Kohberger was arrested. It's already a couple of years old, so just some additional information we have, but I would highly suggest checking it out from yesterday. Okay. So yeah, again, welcome everybody. You can find us on every major podcast platform. We are under two different names on all podcast platforms, and some social media platforms. You can find us under Thought Riot Podcast, spelt all the way out, Thought Riot Podcast. Or on a few, you can find us under the True Crime Talk Show, like Facebook, like Instagram. Our Twitter is Thought Riot Pod, P-O-D, Thought Riot Pod, and we will post that. And Twitter's been getting quite a bit of attention. Actually, we've had a couple hundred people on there as we're live streaming and interacting, engaging with some of the updates. Malia's been really good about covering Twitter and staying on top of it, which is incredible because I think that Twitter is an awesome news source. And for everyone that was here last night, it's going to be a similar setup. We are going to be doing some polls as we go through it and have a good time doing it. But welcome, everybody. If you haven't joined any of our social media or the podcast platforms, hop on there. Give us some thumbs up, okay? Give us some likes. Give us some love. Give us some comments. This show is not what you're going to see on your mainstream media. We are unbiased and semi-unfiltered, unfiltered in a way that we're a family-friendly show, right? So you're not gonna you're not gonna hear a lot of cussing or any adult type conversation. We wanted to be able to make a family-friendly show. But anyways, we will get into it. Do you want to give a little bit of an update, kind of a brief rundown of what we covered yesterday, so we're able to kind of pick back up where we were?
So yesterday, look, we're reading the Washington search warrant attached affidavit for probable cause written by Dustin Blaker. So far, we've went through, Blaker getting there, his experience as an officer, where the victims were that night, finding of the knife sheath, things like that. Some of the car, them tracking him through Moscow and Pullman a little bit. We're about, aren't we I think we're about halfway through. I think we were left off on page 14. No, I think we're on 15. And it looks like we have, what page is this? How many pages long is this? Is this still the affidavit?
Yeah, I think it is. Okay. All right. First poll out, you guys.
Dude,
it is just a basic poll.
Blaker's signature is literally just a bunch of scribbles. It's just like, whoop, whoop, whoop.
I mean, that's kind of how my signature is.
You can't even tell there's a Dustin or a Blaker in that. There's no B or D.
Yeah,
Which is
that's how
kinda
my
funny.
signature is. Absolutely. I think there's just the first letter of my name and the first letter of my last name.
So it looks like there's 25 nope, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yeah, we're halfway through. We're on page
Okay.
15.
Well, awesome. That is incredible.
That worked out really well. But page 15 is when they're talking about the phone stopping reporting to the network. So yesterday, are you gonna pull it up?
I can in a second. Give me just a second. I gotta finish what I'm doing here.
So just to I'm just gonna read, and Brendan will pull it up in a second. I'm just gonna read the last paragraph so we know, well, yeah, where we left off of. So the last paragraph we were on from this affidavit, and it reads very similarly to Payne's PCA that everybody talks about. But Blaker's has some extra details in it and some extra context that aren't in Payne's PCA. And there's some things that honestly kind of contradict Payne's PCA a little bit that don't make sense. And we were requested by viewers to go through this, so we've never read through it on camera, so that's what we're doing now. So we left off where they talk about basically MPD consulting with a CAST agent, an FBI CAST agent. And then it says on November 13th, 2022 at approximately 2:42 a.m., the 8458 phone, which is Kohberger's phone, was utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment G201, Pullman, Washington, hereafter the Kohberger residence. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that provided coverage southeast of the Kohberger residence, consistent with the 8458 phone leaving the Kohberger residence and traveling south through Pullman, Washington. This is consistent with the movement of the white Elantra. So before they start talking about the cell phone, they laid the foundation with footage from his car. Supposedly, and it seems like it's traffic cams on intersections going through Pullman. And now they're layering on the cell phone data, saying that it is the same. They are supporting each other. It fits with what we're seeing on camera of Kohberger's car. And it's really interesting because, and if you weren't here yesterday, we read the part where they talk about identifying the car in the footage on the traffic cams in Pullman, and they identified it as a 2000 and what was it? It was something to 2016. I want to know the lowest date though that they gave. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it right now. But they identified it on that camera footage as.
Are we on Twitter right now? Can you double check that?
So yes, we are. There's people commenting on Twitter.
Okay.
Boone's Farm was on there.
Yeah, it's just acting funky on here.
So 2014 to 2016. Don't you guys find that really interesting that the suspect vehicle one that they were looking from in the 1122 King Road neighborhood, they supposedly had this white Elantra on camera, right? Well, originally they identified it as a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra from the 1122 King Road footage, the Moscow, Idaho footage. But then we're seeing in Blaker's PCA, he's talking about Kohberger's car. What we know is Kohberger's car. They have his license plate. They have, actually, does it say license plate? Did they catch his license plate? Do you remember in Pullman? Actually, they may not have. So it might just be that they're only identifying it without the front license plate and then saying the phone footage, the phone data is backing it up. So strike that. But isn't it interesting? They're identifying the car in Pullman from footage to be a 2014 to 2016, and then identifying the one in Moscow, Idaho as a 2011 to 2013.
That's weird.
And then it changes later, and they fix it and say, well, we think the one in the neighborhood could be a 2011 to 2016, and just include all the ranges so that it includes Kohberger's car.
Yeah. When there's a major update in the manufacturing of that vehicle.
From 2013 to 2014.
Yeah.
Yes.
A major update. So, yeah, I find it, yeah, someone is saying something about it's being funky or something. Okay, I wondered. Yeah, I think Twitter is going down. I think there's something up with Twitter right now, but I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways, go ahead. I'll fix it. I'll just give me 1 sec here.
Okay. Let me get this out of my mouth. It's really annoying. Okay. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Can I share this now?
Yep. Hang on. Yeah.
You just keep doing things and not putting the document
what
on the
page
screen.
number are you on?
Go to 2000, or I mean, page 15.
On the doc?
Yes.
Okay.
No. On the affidavit.
Okay.
But I found that really interesting, and that's something I didn't catch before, because I knew there was this discrepancy with the car, obviously, but I didn't realize they were identifying Kohberger's car in Pullman as a 2014 to 2016, and then in Moscow it was 2011, 2013, and then later, once he's a suspect, they change it. Literally, I feel like we are seeing that laid out in the PCA, that after. Because after that, we hear that, oh, they found this white Hyundai Elantra and it was registered to Kohberger and he fit the description. You know what I mean? Like you hear all these things later. It seems to me, like they picked a car that was out and about, missing a front license plate. And because the one in Moscow was missing a front license plate, that meant it had to be the one. And they made it fit. That's what it screams to me. Now, I could be wrong. There could be additional analysis that I am missing, but it just seems shady.
I agree with you.
All right. So.
And I have something here that I want to read if I can. Okay, good. Jeez. What? Yeah, Twitter's just being super lame right now.
I thought are we not starting the document? You have something else you want to bring up real quick?
Well, no, what I'm talking about bringing up real quick is just what I was going to show it on Twitter, but Twitter doesn't want us to share any of their information, apparently. Okay, so we have a document here from, not a document. We have a Twitter post from the lawyer you know. Did you happen to see that? And one of our viewers commented on it and reposted it, and I think I ended up reposting it too. And get this. So hang on here. Oh man, that was it. Okay. So I think I just reposted it with Word. Okay, so the lawyer you know, which is a content creator that you guys all know, we talk about pretty frequently. He's one of our go-to people, and I'll pull him up on the screen here. He's one of our go-to people that we go to understand the legal documents a little bit better, because of course, I mean, lawyers have so much more experience and knowledge and information when it comes to legal documents that their input is invaluable. You know what I mean? And he's really good about being unbiased. He's really good about sharing pretty raw, objective information, which is what aligns with what we're looking for. So as you can see here, if you guys have never checked this man out, it is Lawyer You Know, at Lawyer You Know on YouTube. And listen to this. This is what he said, and I reposted it on Twitter. I thought it was interesting. He says, "It's so interesting to me how much more heavily law enforcement is scrutinized during a trial where people believe the defendant is innocent."
Wait, what? Sorry.
He says the chat, you can't watch the chat. He says, it's so interesting to me that
I was just looking at the lawyer,
how much more heavily law enforcement is scrutinized during a trial where people believe the defendant is innocent. No one has a problem with defense attorneys putting them through the ringer. But if they don't like the defendant or they think they're guilty, very similar questioning is seen as rude, bullying, and disrespectful to law enforcement, just in quotes, doing their job. Every case is different, but good defense attorneys scrutinize law enforcement in every case. Now, he's not talking about Idaho 4 here. He's actually talking about the Karen Reed case, and he tags Karen Reed at the end. But I thought that was very interesting because I think that is what we are seeing in the Idaho 4 case too, is you have the Kohberger, the Kohbergers on one side of the case, and then you have
Delphi
people,
too. Delphi, Karen Reed, and Idaho 4. We're seeing it in every one of those cases.
So you have the Kohbergers on one side of the court, and then on the other side you have people who believe Bryan Kohberger is innocent, or I'm sorry, guilty, and the people that believe Bryan Kohberger is guilty get so offended at the idea that law enforcement could do something wrong that we get lumped in with Kohbergers.
We do.
All the time, people hop on and leave comments every single day that I can't believe you guys are for Bryan Kohberger or Kohbergers or whatever, anything relating to it, when I've never, not one time, have committed to Bryan Kohberger's innocence or guilt, because I don't believe I can commit. I don't think there's enough evidence to commit. But it's interesting that we are questioning law enforcement, so we automatically get lumped in to being a Kohberger. It is identical to what the lawyer is saying on here, and that is a massive problem. There is a major problem there.
Yeah, people either lump us in with the Kohbergers or just try to discredit us as saying we have no law enforcement or legal experience. So what we say doesn't matter, which, I mean, sure, you don't have to listen to us. You don't have to think what we have to say matters. We're just here to, start a conversation. One person, that's why I loved seeing, whatever you think of the people I'm going to mention is your own prerogative. I appreciate their expertise and insight, even if I don't always agree with them or, think some things they have said are distasteful. I'm sure I've said distasteful things. Okay. So, everyone has. I really like seeing Chris McDonough question law enforcement. I really liked seeing him as a law enforcement, ex law enforcement, an investigator, question law enforcement, question the university. I really enjoy Joey Jackalone from True Crime with the Sarge, who's on Nancy Grace's show, who is on shows where they're, condemning and character assassinating Kohberger. But I really enjoy seeing him question law enforcement and talk about how crap of a job they did at the crime scene. Cause I agree. I don't think they did a good job. And I don't think you have to, it doesn't matter what you believe about Kohberger.
Just joined.
It doesn't matter what you think about Kohberger. It's about if we're seeing issues in the investigation or not. And if there's issues there, there's a chance that these victims won't get justice. And that's just the fact of the matter.
Yeah.
We're here to hold law enforcement accountable for if they frame somebody or if they mess up an investigation so bad, a guilty man walks free. I'm here to criticize them for both if they do either. But if they do a great job, then I'm going to say they're doing a great job.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
We're not here to just hate law enforcement and scream Kohberger's innocent. We're also not here to do the opposite. So we try to keep it as objective as possible. And, we're open to other people's ideas, open to, again, starting that conversation, because we think that everybody should care about justice for these victims. We think everybody should care about your legal system and your justice system because look,
I
the
could rant
issues
on this forever.
the issues we're seeing in the Delphi case, the issues we're seeing in the Karen Reed case, the issues we're seeing in the Idaho 4 case are not new issues. These are just super high profile cases that are putting a spotlight on these issues, but they're not new.
Yeah.
Okay.
80.
So can you pull up the document then?
Yeah. I think I had it up, didn't I?
Yeah, but you shared the Lawyer You Know's page.
Oh, okay.
And then you put that other thing back up, the thumbnail. Okay. So we're starting, and again, we left off with cast agents. I gave a little recap before this, and we are starting off right now exactly where we left off yesterday. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the 8458 phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area without cellular coverage, the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting the phone into airplane mode, or that phone is turned off. Interesting that everybody kept just saying he turned his phone off when they literally gave multiple options of what could have caused this. His phone being turned off, just one of them. The 8458 phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m., at which time it utilized cellular resources that provided coverage to Idaho State Highway 95 south of Moscow, Idaho, near Blaine, Idaho, town north of Genesee.
We just posted a Q&A too, you guys. I know we had one yesterday and we didn't have time to get to it. So if you have additional questions that you have come up with between then and now, post those questions in the Q&A and we are going to get to those Q&A questions.
Between 4:50 and 5:26 a.m., the phone utilizes cellular resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone, traveling south on Idaho State 95 to Genesee, Idaho, then traveling west towards Uniontown, Idaho, and then back north into Pullman, Washington. At approximately 5:30 a.m., the 8458 phone is utilizing resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington, and consistent with the phone traveling back to the Kohberger residence. The 8458 phone's movements are consistent with the movements of the white Elantra that is observed traveling north on Stadium Drive at approximately 5:27 a.m. based on a review of the 8458's phone, the 8458 phone's estimated locations and travel. The 8458 phone's travel is consistent with that of the white Elantra. So it's interesting, and I think that people assume that because they have camera footage of Kohberger leaving Pullman and returning to Pullman, and because they might have some accurate cell phone pings while he's in Pullman only, okay?
Yeah.
That makes the rest of his travels, whatever they have on that, accurate. And we kind of talked about this yesterday. That's not true because he's traveling to other areas that have totally different towers covering them.
Yeah.
So it's, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I just put a questionnaire out there right now for the cell phone related evidence, because you know what's really interesting is I just watched a new creator that I haven't seen before out there today, and if I can find out who it was, it was gosh, I hope I can find it. Give me 1 second,
Yeah,
you guys.
it looks like there's a tornado outbreak right now in like Oklahoma, and I just saw it because
yeah, so be safe.
Yeah, be safe. I follow some weather channels that like they cover the whole United States when there's really bad weather, and they track it, and they have people who like, you know, are storm chasers, and it looks like there's some really, really bad weather in Oklahoma and maybe Kansas and stuff right now. So stay safe, pay attention if you're in those areas, maybe even Missouri and western Iowa.
The manipulators are on our video tonight. They didn't like yesterday how many views we got. So we're already up to over $1,000 in marketing dollars. Keep it coming, baby.
Hold on. Gotta pull something up real quick. Okay.
Right.
So, you don't have the.
Yeah. So this is what I wanted to show. I apologize. Here we go.
You keep cutting me off.
I watched this. Gosh, what video? Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, here. Okay, so did I view this? Did I share this? No, hang on. There we go. Okay, so I've never watched this creator before, like ever. I have never seen this person, Lana Marie, and I watched a video. Where's all the evidence today? And what she was talking about is how what's interesting is the prosecution has came out and they talked about the importance of the cell phone data and its reliability with within the PCA. But the second Bryan Kohberger comes out and tries leaning on the cell phone data for his alibi, there are now people coming out saying that cell phone data is unreliable. I'm not going to name specific content creators. You guys put 2 and 2 together, okay? But why all of a sudden is the cell phone data not reliable?
When it
was used to convict.
Yep. Well, when everybody
Hello.
I mean, the thing with the cell phone data is like when we first started talking about it, everybody was talking about how it wasn't going to be reliable in this area, though. That's what we were talking about.
No. Okay, you're talking about 2 different things, though. There are 2 different things here. Cell phone data is reliable. You're going to deal with 2 things. How precise do you need it? And do you have the coverage to be precise? But it's a concrete science. It doesn't matter what anybody says. Like, you are going to get hard, actual factual numbers. It's how precise do you need it? If you have 1 tower, it's not precise enough to bring to court. If you have 2 towers, maybe it's precise enough to add, at least an additional element to your court case. 3 towers, okay, now we're getting somewhere. We might be able to be precise enough to lock somebody down to a city block, a town block, or whatever. 4 towers, you now meet the criteria to present as a cast report and agent. So what's interesting is the prosecution leaned so heavily on this evidence to bring to arrest Bryan Kohberger. But now all of a sudden that Bryan Kohberger is trying to use that same cellular coverage in his alibi. Oh no, it is the worst thing ever. The worst overall thing ever. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
And I'm not talking about a specific creator. So if you're a creator and you're listening to this and you've said that, I'm not talking about it specific. I'm talking about the true crime and mainstream media in general here. Okay. It has been a movement as a whole together to try and push this narrative.
Yeah. Maybe
not while it's a nice idea to think one person is that can control that much weight. Come on. We definitely aren't talking about one person, but this new narrative, like, oh, all of a sudden Bryan Kohberger's using cell tower data. It is so unreliable. It could never be used in court. What do you mean? It was literally the single most evidence used to lean on to get his arrest. You know what I mean? But you're reading awesome currently. Do you want to continue that? And I got to run to the restroom real quick. I should have went before we went live, but I was literally running to get here. So make sure you guys answer that poll. Is cellular data reliable or unreliable in this case?
All right. I'm not 100% sure where I left off. Hold on 1 second, guys. Okay, I know this line looked kind of funky. Let me make sure it's up on screen. Nope, it's not up on screen. Okay, now it's up on screen. Is this big enough? Should I make it bigger? Yeah, that's probably better for you guys. Okay. So So they said that his phone movements were consistent with the Elantra observed traveling north on Stadium Drive at approximately 5:27 a.m. based on a review of the 8458's phone. The 8458 phone's estimated locations and travel. The 8458 phone's travel is consistent with that of the white Elantra. Again, I think it's really interesting that, like, again, just because that's accurate, if it even were, okay, like, because they may not even really need great cell phone data to say, oh, this lines up. They could just see he's like this direction from the cell tower, and his phone's also, I mean, his car's also caught on camera in that area, and it could be like the radius of like 10 miles, okay, and he's just on that side of it, and they could say, oh, well, it's consistent. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be precise. Like, they're literally watching him with the cell data traveling down the street, that exact street. It doesn't have to be that consistent. It doesn't have to be that precise to be consistent. So, further review indicated that the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th, 2022, that are consistent with the 8458 phone leaving the area of the Kohberger residence at approximately 9 a.m. and traveling to Moscow, Idaho. Specifically, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to the King Road residence between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. The 8458 phone next utilized cellular resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone traveling back to the area of the Kohberger residence and arriving to the area at approximately 9:32 a.m. So do you find that interesting at all? Like, obviously, I don't think they're going to be able to nail him down to being in the neighborhood with cell phone data. But do you think it's interesting at all he went to Moscow, Idaho that morning? Or do you think that he could be pinging in Moscow, Idaho while at home?
So isn't that
because it's
the
not
one in question, right? That is the one in question that everybody talks about is, was he there? Right? That's the one that law enforcement is saying, oopsies, we actually don't know. Which should have been the single biggest question in this entire PCA, in my opinion, with how much they leaned on this cell phone evidence. People should have been throwing up their hands, asking questions. Oh, I can't believe I forgot this. I have a video to show you guys. But I think with how much investigation and details are in this around cellular data, this should have been a very big question. The second it came out that oopsies, we have, you know, something else going on and we actually don't think he was there. Wait, what? Then why are you leaning on any of your cellular data? Right?
Yeah, but again, that's kind of actually negating my point
question.
too, is that just because it's crap in Moscow doesn't mean it's crap in Pullman.
Yeah, I agree.
So just because it's not accurate in one place doesn't mean they couldn't get anything accurate in a whole nother town.
Yeah.
But just because it's accurate in Pullman doesn't mean it's accurate in Moscow. Like, so just because one piece of it isn't good doesn't mean we throw the rest out. Like, each part of his route needs to be analyzed to determine if it's accurate or precise at all.
Yeah. Yep.
So
hey, by the way, real quick,
I don't know if Blaker's PCA says the same things that Payne does about that ping, though.
One thing I meant to let everyone know, because I just want this to be absolutely fair, and we are 100% transparent with everything with the show, because this is a viewer-led show. In our Discord, you guys, which I'll post a Discord invite for everyone, but in our Discord, on that main general page, if we let everybody that's a content creator promote in there and viewers promote other content creators, it would just be full of promotion. It would end up being a promotion page. Our Discord isn't there for promoting other people, so we have created a promotion tab in there. but I'm going to have to go through that and delete every other content creators, just because we need to keep it fair. We need to keep it about what that Discord is for. And that Discord is specifically for Thought Rioters, and not other content creators in the general tab. So just a heads up, if you guys post stuff in there, this is the, I think I've left 3 or 4 comments letting everybody know, hey, make sure you guys post your promo in the promo tab. And in the general tab, that is Thought Riot only, and that is the main alert system for the 200 or 300 people we have in there or whatever. So
can they share news, or does that need to only go in sources?
Yeah, I think information about news is important. I mean, it's a general chat, so if it has to do with the investigation, I think that's what it's there for.
Okay.
But if news is getting mixed in with other content creators, then we're going to have to stop that too. Because again, I'm more concerned with being fair than like, well, some news is okay or some isn't. Look, in the general chat, it just needs to be fair, like brutally, transparently fair, that no other content is being used as promotion on that page, right? And I'm sure content creators have their own Discord for that, and we do have other Discord areas for that on Discord, like we create a promotion page.
There's been quite a few people to hop on the promotion page and promote other content. So if you are looking for other content creators and want to see what everyone else in the community is watching, you can definitely go there, because there's been a lot of them posted.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, and remember, guys, this is Blaker's PCA. So I don't remember if he cancels out the whole ping of going back to Moscow the next day. I don't know what he says about that, but we're about to read and find out. Can I use this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So we left off here, that his phone went to Moscow and went back to his home. And they say this is the estimated route, not to scale, of the possible route taken of the cellular site locations. Okay. Investigators found that the 8458 phone did connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th, 2022. But investigators do not believe the 8458 phone was in Moscow on that date. So no, that, to answer your question, that is not it.
Okay.
So they're saying,
do we know which one is the oopsies?
Well, you weren't paying attention, clearly. November 14th.
Okay.
So not the morning of the crimes.
Yeah, the day after.
The day after. So they're claiming, okay,
it's the oopsies. Yeah, the day after is the oopsies.
Okay, but look, on November 13th at 9 a.m. So he went back home, supposedly, according to this PCA. They're saying Kohberger left his home at 2:40 something a.m., went and committed the crime, went back home at 5 something a.m., then got up like 4 hours later and went to Moscow, came back, and then the next day there were supposedly cell tower pings that he seemed to be connecting to that could make it look like he was in Moscow the day after, but he actually wasn't.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is separate from him supposedly returning to the crime scene, as you know, mainstream media has painted it.
Yes.
Okay. So investigators do not believe the 8458 phone was in Moscow on that date. So obviously we know from that, it appears it's possible for him to connect to a Moscow tower and not be in Moscow.
Yep.
The 8458 phone has not connected to any towers that provide service to Moscow since that date. Do you find that strange? For a whole month, he didn't go back to Moscow, despite him going there like pretty consistently. He went there 12 times, supposedly, unless his phone was connecting to the tower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're claiming he went there 12 times, but then they just said on the 14th, his phone connected to the tower, but they don't believe he was there. So for all those 12 times before, did they check to see if there's video footage? Did they check to see anything to confirm that he was actually there or not? Or is that whole 12 times not true?
That's what I'm curious about. I don't know. I'm not sure. Trust me, I wish I knew one way or the other. But the only way that I would be able to understand completely how these towers work and get a good historical picture of the cellular network in that area is being able to see kind of how they work and some like CDR, call data records, to understand like the reliability around it, if they're using shortwave frequencies, if they're using the longer two frequencies, and how that all plays out, because each tower is going to have a blend of different frequencies that is being used on it, right? So technically, if you're connected to one tower and that tower is your main data source, then you could be connected to a 5G network and a 2, like mid-band, and that would determine like just how connected you are, if that makes sense. So you might be close enough to the tower that it can pick up that you're within range of this lower frequency band, but you're not close enough to the tower to use that actual tower to make a call. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, sure.
So I wonder if it's a situation like that. I'm not sure. It's interesting though. It's definitely interesting.
So you got one question.
New poll.
You got one question real quick.
And Q&A.
And I don't think it's in the Q&A, but I want to ask you it real quick. Are there towers that are used for federal resources that are separate from public communications? From Chris in the chat.
Absolutely.
There are?
Oh, are there towers separate from public? We saw them.
Well, I know there's the private ones for 911 and emergency services, but he's asking, does the federal government like
Absolutely
have their own towers?
Yeah, they can access any of those towers.
Yeah, but do they have their own that no public gets to connect to?
I mean, so are you asking if there's a third category of tower that no one can connect to except for feds?
Yeah.
No. There's just the private networks.
So you're saying they could connect to the private networks that are for emergency services and just use those?
Yeah, that is what they use.
Oh.
That is what they use. That's what those networks are for. Those private networks are not only like 911 calls, they're for emergency services. That includes everything from routing radio services when helicopters are trying to call into hospitals. It has to do with, feds trying to get in contact with law enforcement. I mean, it's any device that has been deemed fit to be a part of this service.
Oh, and
military. Yeah. Great call. Correct.
And so Green Punk also said they probably use satellite too. Do you think they use satellite?
I mean,
phones?
Satellite's new technology. So I think that if we're talking about cutting edge science and cutting edge military communication, yes, they absolutely are using sat phones. If you're talking locally in a national level, no, they are not using sat phones.
I don't know.
So somebody asked quickly, are we allowed to mention other creators on here? Absolutely, you can talk about other creators. Now, if you're here trying to promote creators, I mean, that's
pretty distasteful.
Yeah, that's bad faith. And so I would say no, but
mentioning information that they've brought up,
I don't think we've ever gone on any other creators and done that. So I would expect the same respect.
Never. Yeah. And look, we don't have an issue talking about other creators at all. We have always appreciated all other creators and promoted other creators, even if we don't agree with them.
Absolutely.
So no, there's no issue mentioning creators. It's just, if you're just coming in the chat just to promote them, and you're not here to be a part of the community, or you're in here just to badmouth and disrespect and make it appear like, we're also like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's bad faith comments and there's good faith comments, to keep it very simply. And people that are here in bad faith, I mean, we have so many people that have reached out to us recently, whereas not last month, but the month before, in order to control the issues that we're dealing with on our channel, you know, we had to get some other parties involved. So the chat kind of got let free, and we let anything go in the chat. And only this last month we've given people the warning, hey, we got to clean this up. We need it to be family friendly, which is the representation of this channel. And then this month we are, you know, we're just removing people that are here bad faith. So,
and yes, I see,
not meeting the criteria of the show.
And I see Amanda in the chat. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well.
Yes.
All
good
right.
to see you for sure.
Okay. So where did we leave off? So that's interesting that they don't think he was actually there. And I know a lot of people have talked about this a lot, you know, mentioned in the chat and comments saying like, what the heck is going on with that? We've gotten so many questions about that, and people asking you, how is that possible?
Yeah. And
you kind of gave a rundown of how you thought it was possible just now, but
yeah. And for anyone that has any questions, you guys, I'm doing the best to keep an eye on the chat. But the best way that you're going to get your question answered is adding it to the Q&A, or adding it to the Q&A or super chats. That's what super chats are there for. So Q&A or super chats is a guarantee to get your question answered.
And I know that the iPhone app, it doesn't seem to work. The Q&A. So pull up your browser.
That's weird because I think mine does.
Mine doesn't. I checked it and mine wasn't working. And I saw many people say it wasn't working on their iPhone. So if it's not working on yours, try pulling up your browser. Okay. So based on my training and experience, the facts of the investigation thus far, I believe that Kohberger, the user of the 8458 phone, was likely the driver of the white Elantra that is observed departing Pullman, Washington, and that this vehicle is likely suspect vehicle 1. Okay. Additionally, the route of travel of the 8458 phone during the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, and the lack of the 8458 phone reporting to AT&T between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide that occurred at the King Road residence. On December 23rd, 2022, I was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historical CSLI from June 23rd of 2022 to current. Okay. So from June 23rd to December 23rd. Prospective location information and
that's a loaded question. And the new poll, sorry.
And a PIN register / trap and trace on the 8458 phone to aid in efforts to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims in this case. That's interesting. He literally just used the word stalk. Any of the victims in this case prior to the offense, conducted surveillance on the King Road residence, because he also said earlier he believed somebody would have surveilled before they did this. Was in contact with any of the victims' associates before or after the alleged offense, any locations that may contain evidence of the murders that occurred on November 13th, 2022, the location of the white Elantra registered to Kohberger, as well as the location of Kohberger. So what is a PIN register / trap and trace? What does that mean? Do you know?
Yeah. Except how they're using it in this document is not how it would classically be used. So a trap and trace is a predetermined warrant to trace a phone's call record history and like all the details of their phone from that date forward.
Oh, so it's not historical data. It's from that time on in the future.
So maybe they're talking about historical data here, because in my opinion,
that's what he's claiming from June 23rd to December 23rd.
Right. But classically, what they could be doing too for the trap and trace is that they put a a pre-date, right? So if the date today is like the 10th or something, but I want it from the 1st, I could submit a request for the 1st there forward. You know what I mean? So, and you should be able to get all of the above.
Okay, so it's all phone calls. Any incoming and outgoing phone calls.
Yeah, it's
period.
literally everything. Like if there is data going and coming, it's everything. And most of the times that trap and trace is when they can literally listen to your phone calls.
Oh, so it's like
It's straight up connected.
So it's
like a double.
It's like a wiretap, essentially.
Yeah.
So why don't they call it a wiretap?
I mean, technology evolves and they aren't
So it's something
wiretapping
different
anymore.
now.
Like a wiretap was literally a tap on a phone. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So I just think the technology uses more evolved terminology, you know?
Okay, so I wonder, I'm curious if they're just not stating it here, but if they were tapped in on his phone from December 23rd to his arrest, if they were listening to his phone calls, are we going to see any of that evidence in court?
I wonder. And do you think that's why what we talked about yesterday, which I see, you know, you brought that up yesterday and I saw it all over, like people talking about it. But so what we brought up yesterday is talking about Bryan Kohberger waiving his rights to a lawyer when he was first arrested in Pennsylvania for 15 minutes talking with law enforcement before saying, hey, I want an attorney. And what he mentioned in that time was that he knew that they had his phone information. Why? How? And just so you guys know, if you know what you're looking for, you can tell when you have a trap and trace on your phone. I'm not going to go into that right now, though, because it can also cause people to lose their mind, because there are also other reasons why you could be getting some of those symptoms as well. So you can tell when I see people talking about stingrays. So one thing I want to, this is totally off topic here. Stingrays are outdated technology, you guys. The reason why we know about them and they're being talked about so much is because that's days of the old. That is outdated tech. They aren't using stingrays like that anymore. What stingrays used to do was a tower. It's literally a tower. So they would be in an area with a tower. They'd flip the stingray on. They'd have a big antenna on top of their van. It would pull all the cellular data that's going to the tower, the cellular network tower, to the stingray. Everyone would lose connection. Then the stingray would gather all the connection that's going to that tower, and it would have your IMEI, phone details, all these things. But those days are gone. Fog data science is here. Background GPS data is here. What else? Fog data, background GPS data, and gosh, what's that? I don't know. I'm losing my mind right now. I can't remember what that third one is, but there's a third one that you can be tracked with.
All right.
That's not CDR.
Okay. Interesting. It's really interesting how things are changing. It seems like they have, like, a stingray almost feels like you have to literally have it physically there.
Oh yeah, it's literally a box.
Technology is evolving to the point where they don't have to have anything physically there anymore.
You know what's
they can just tap into a database and see everyone that was in the area.
You know what's really interesting is stingray, in my opinion, is another one of those topics that I feel like are used to control the narrative. And I just put a new poll out there right now because I'm curious. The social aspects of people knowing what a stingray is or not interests me, because I think it's one of those topics that is like a false hand. Like, look over here, you know, when that technology isn't being used anymore. It's not being used anymore.
It's being used as a red herring. Like, look at all the ways they spy on you. Look at the stingray. But actually, they spy on you in much more advanced ways. They just don't want you to know about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. They're using a lot of accounts tonight. What is that? 125. But yeah, absolutely. And you get more information from you get more information from the new updated version of tracking anyways than you would Stingray. But what's interesting is, newer phones have what's called eSIM. They're built-in SIM cards, and in those SIM cards, it's now connected, harnessed to a phone. Now you can change those internal SIM numbers, but it's not very likely. And I think that's going to have a lot to do with tracking devices too, as our network continues to expand and grow and everything in between. So, oh, that's awesome.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yes, Jamie says,
are you going to highlight it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Okay. Did we shout out any of those?
Oh, I don't think we did.
Okay, we got to go back and shout out those.
Jamie says, hi, I'm new here. Just wondering if you guys think he is guilty or not really, or not in reality. Oh gosh. I don't think that I can commit one way or the other. I do not think I have no idea. Let's just put it that way. I have no idea. And the reason why I don't have any idea is that I don't believe there's enough evidence. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm keeping an open mind. I'm waiting to see the evidence. I'm, especially with a case like this, I just have to be evidence led, it's the situation with the amount of character assassination that's been out in the media. It's just, and that's not real evidence. Like I can't just make a decision based off that. It doesn't seem fair,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. People who can be unbiased in that way are the people who could be actually be a juror, because it's not that, even though they would prefer you not to know about the case, if they can't find anybody who doesn't know about the case or has at least not even heard a victim's name or Kohberger's name, if they can't find that, they need to at least find people who have an open mind and are unbiased and haven't decided if he's guilty or not and are going to be evidence led. That's the requirement for being a juror.
I agree.
Not knowing nothing.
And I think that should be the expectation in order to support a fair judicial system. And that's the exact reason why earlier I talked about the lawyer you know's comment. The lawyer you know's comment is saying exactly that, why when people believe the defendant is guilty, are they shamed for questioning the law enforcement? You know what I mean?
Right.
Listen, he could be so guilty. Bryan Kohberger absolutely can be guilty. I 100% believe that there are things out there, and there are ways that he could have conducted this crime and he could be guilty, and the cops could have sucked. Just to be completely blunt with that. You know what I mean?
Yep, I agree 100%. I think that and that's important when holding your law enforcement accountable. Like, think about, you guys, if evidence, say Kohberger walks and then we get to see the discovery and we're like, wow, this guy was guilty.
Yeah.
This guy was guilty and he walked because of this poor investigation. Would you not be incredibly angry?
Yeah.
That he is now on the streets and justice was not had? Finding out if he's because look, like with Chris Watts, we got the discovery after the case and everyone was like, oh, this is even worse. It looks even worse on the mistress.
Yeah.
It looks a million times worse on the mistress. It could be the same situation in the Kohberger case. Is we could get the discovery after and be like, oh my gosh, this looks so bad.
Yeah.
But it could also be the opposite. He could get convicted and we could be like, wow, he really seems like he's innocent. So that's why I can't make a commitment until I see the evidence. I don't think there's any benefit there for me personally, though I appreciate everyone's opinions and I understand, people's beliefs of why they feel he's innocent and why they feel he's guilty. I totally get both perspectives and feel I could argue both perspectives pretty well.
Let's see if it's changed. So yesterday we did a poll on the the viewers if they thought Bryan Kohberger was guilty or not. And I need to pull up those results. I saved them. I'm curious what the opinion is tonight. So we just did a new poll. Do you believe Bryan Kohberger is guilty? What is the
just use I don't know, the IDK, as unbiased.
Yeah.
Open mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that would be my category. I don't know. And
what's interesting is a whole bunch of votes on that last one came from like the same area. So
that is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get in this document or we're never gonna get through it.
Let's go through it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's get through it because this is it's taking a really long time.
Yeah, but it's okay. People like talking about this case.
Of course.
We aren't in a rush to get through this. I would rather talk about it in depth, everything having to do with the Washington evidence, because we have 60,000 new subscribers that weren't here for the investigation videos that we have that I need to copy and paste. Actually, it's in the description of this video. How many people do we have?
Yeah,
watching?
if you just feel like binging,
4,000.
If you just joined the channel and you just like started following the Idaho 4 case, our playlist is extensive and pieces of the case that we've dove into. And if you just feel like binge watching, one day, it's there.
Yeah, and for the other couple thousand people that are watching right now, hang on here.
Hey, some channels are out there just reading documents straight through.
Yeah, but that's good. Some people really like that.
I know. Some people do really like that.
Okay, so for those of you on the other platforms, as you can see here, if you go to youtube.com, and search Thought Riot Podcast, you can check out the 110 videos on the Idaho 4 case that we go through absolutely everything. We dig into it deep. So come check it out if it's something that interests you. And I forgot to share these. Amber, thank you for becoming a member. That's awesome. And we love that you're here hanging out with us.
Yes.
LA.
You've been a member a while. Thanks for renewing with us. We appreciate you. And Victorine, how could we forget about you?
Yes.
Thank you so much for being a member for 5 months and always showing us support.
Absolutely.
We also just got 10 membership gifted by
did?
Meg P.
Oh, awesome.
That is
you are
super
incredible.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. That is incredible. Thank you. And welcome all the new Thought Rioters to the madness, to the think tank, to the Thought Riot think tank. Welcome, everybody. Okay. Okay, so where are we at? Is it pulled up on screen? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to?
All right. So where was I at? So they did the trap and trace. Yep. So on December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to the search warrant, investigators received historical records for the 8458 phone from AT&T from the time the account was opened in June 2022. After consulting with the CAST special agent, investigators were able to determine estimated locations for the 8458 phone from June 2022 to present, the time period authorized by the court. The records for the 8458 phone show the 8458 phone utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage to the area of the 1122 King Road on at least 12 occasions prior to November 13th, 2022. All of these occasions, except for one, occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of their respective days. One of these occasions, August 21st, 2022, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources providing coverage to the King Road residents from approximately 10:34 p.m. to 11:35 p.m. At approximately 11:37 p.m., Kohberger was stopped by the Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Corporal Duke, as mentioned above. The 8458 phone was utilizing cellular resources consistent with the location of the traffic stop during this time, Farm Road and Pullman Highway. Okay, so again, remember, he could be utilizing cellular resources and they could be consistent, but not precise at all. They could just show he's literally in Moscow.
Exactly.
Not that he's in any part of Moscow, but just in Moscow.
Exactly.
So again, it doesn't.
Spot on.
Now, obviously, we know where he was because we know where he was pulled over. But the point is they're using this as a way to make you think that their cell coverage is accurate and precise.
Right.
But that doesn't make it precise. That does not mean it's precise.
Oh, Meg offered another 10 of Thought Riot Podcast memberships. That is incredible.
Wow.
Thank you. So we have 20 new Thought Rioters at the table. That is amazing. And welcome, everyone. And thank you for being so kind.
Yes, that's super generous, Meg. If I could even talk. Gosh, what is going on with my mouth tonight? Like, I feel like I'm tongue-tied. It's really weird.
That's a funny statement.
Maybe I just
What is going on with my mouth tonight?
You don't ever just feel tongue-tied where you just like can't talk right?
Yeah, normally
I think
for
I'm
me,
just tired.
It's brain tied, but
brain tied.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my mouth has a hard time keeping up with my brain. It's like, a 1-to-1 ratio. As I'm thinking it's coming out. Sometimes it doesn't align.
Yeah, she's dropping some dough though. That is so nice of you.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, everyone. Let her know that you're thankful if you got a membership from her.
Yes. Yes.
It looks like everyone is. That's really nice. Okay. So, let's see. I think we need to scroll down. So, have you ever looked up Farm Road and Pullman Highway to see? Because I've heard people say that's pretty close to the residence.
Okay.
Have you ever looked it up?
I think we have looked it up before. Yeah.
I'm just curious how close. Like if he's at the intersection of Farm Road and Pullman Highway, how close is that? So that's literally, is that by Best Western? Oh, I think it is.
Okay, so
that's not close. No, that's not close at all.
Yeah.
That's literally on his way in or out of Moscow. It's literally right by like Target, Denny's, Buffalo Wild Wings, Best Western University. It's literally on that Highway 8 Pullman Road going into Moscow from Pullman. Yeah, that's nowhere near. See, that's been my issue with the cell phone coverage this whole time is that I feel like that's what we're going to end up seeing is that they can't narrow him down to the crime scene. They can only say he was in like Moscow and he could be anywhere on that main strip, like doing anything.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's where he was pulled over. Because, like, he could have never been in this whole instance that they lay out, claiming he's using. And remember, they're not saying that they triangulated him in the neighborhood or by the house. They never say that.
Yeah.
They say that he was utilizing coverage from a tower that covers the 1122 King Road neighborhood.
Yeah.
He's in Moscow, okay? Does that mean he's in the neighborhood? No, they're not saying that. They're just saying he's using the same tower.
Which is exactly the whole point that we've been making about the cell data is that it's being portrayed when the state benefits from it as some awesome, incredible, detailed evidence. But then the second that they're not benefiting from it, it's being, cut down. It's really wild.
Yep.
It's really wild because again, in my opinion, you guys, you know how I feel about cellular data as evidence. I feel it's reliable. And I see somebody in here that was talking about stingrays, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but exactly what you were saying is true with the stingray. The stingray details that you're talking about is the more network. So when you're talking to somebody that knows about cellular networks, that's the exact reason why they don't get used anymore, is because the technology has advanced in a way where it's not able to pull any of the cell phones from that area, you know?
Right. Okay. Interesting. We got a lot of new members tonight.
Yeah.
So Rochelle, I think that's how I say your name. If I'm getting it wrong, please let me know. She's been a member for 1 month. We appreciate you. She said,
Yes.
did they test under fingernails and give results? So not that we've ever seen that. Remember, there's a gag order on this case. The case is sealed. So a lot of the evidence is unknown to us. We can only go go off of these PCAs, these search warrants, also documents that are listed on the Idaho, webpage, the docket. And it's not that much. It's not that much. There's enough there where we're seeing some inconsistencies, but there's no details of the autopsy. We're really just seeing like this is the type of evidence they're going to use, but not details of it.
Yeah.
So we know there was autopsies, and usually in an autopsy, especially when it's a murder, they test under fingernails. So I really hope that they did. If they didn't, that would be extremely alarming. That would not look good, but I would assume they did. They just haven't given, the public any confirmation or results when it comes to that. But it'd be interesting to know, did they have fibers under their fingernails? Consistent with Dickie overalls that he supposedly bought, like if he even bought Dickie overalls. Like supposedly there's a receipt, but like we know nothing about that. Are there any skin cells? Is there any DNA under their fingernails? What was there? Because that's important.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is that, remember, a lack of evidence is still evidence. So if they tested under fingernails, I would, like, if I was the defense, I would ask that question and want the results, even if there wasn't anything from those tests. Right. And I think that could be used as a defense strategy and angle here, because remember, you guys, I truly believe this. We aren't just saying, there are people that are like, of course they're saying that so that more people watch their show, and I don't function like that. I'm going to give it to you straight, in the same way
Agreed.
that I share details that aren't conducive to our growth, like being honest with you guys about our channel being messed with. YouTube doesn't want anybody talking about that kind of stuff. It doesn't help the promotion of, YouTube. But this is a viewer-led show. I am always going to be transparent with you guys, and I am transparent about our marketing. I'm transparent about everything. But so when it comes to this case, using that as an example, they need to be able to come forward and be transparent about everything that they've tested in that case. And like, what I would do if I was Ann Taylor is I would take the textbook version of an investigation and managing a crime scene, and I would literally start going through it with the officers and be like, did you do this? If you didn't, why? What are the results? Did you do this? If you didn't, why? What were those results? If you did, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
sure.
go through that one by one. And I think there's going to be very valid points there. Hence things like the fingernails, right?
Wouldn't that be insane if that's where the 2 additional male DNAs came from?
Oh,
Heather,
I would lose it.
Heather mentioned that in the chat, and I was like, yeah, I was thinking that would be insane. Insane. But what if it's like it says they're unidentified. So it's not their boyfriends. Unless, well, I don't know. I guess it could be. If they only ran it through CODIS and never did any additional testing. Have their boyfriends ever been arrested and, swabbed in an arrest?
Yeah. I mean,
did they test that DNA against their boyfriends? Who knows? Clearly it was ran through CODIS and they found out it was male DNA, but that's all we know. Okay, let's pull this up.
Oh yeah. Where are
Okay,
you at?
I'm right
Oh,
there.
okay. Sorry.
Further analysis of the cellular data provided showed the 8458 phone. I think you need to do that.
Oh,
Um,
my bad.
okay, so further analysis of the cellular data provided showed the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th, 2022, consistent with the phone traveling from Pullman, Washington to Lewiston, Idaho via U.S. Highway, is that 195? At approximately 12:36 p.m. The 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand and located at 810 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage from the U.S. Chef store located at 820 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington, and adjacent to Kate's Cup of Joe showed a white Elantra consistent with the suspect vehicle 1 drive past Kate's Cup of Joe at a time consistent with the cellular data from the 8458 phone. At approximately 12:46 p.m., the 8458 phone then utilized cellular data in the area of the Albertsons grocery store at 400 Bridge Street in Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage obtained from the Albertsons showed Kohberger exit the white Elantra, consistent with suspect vehicle 1, at approximately 12:49 p.m. Interior surveillance cameras showed Kohberger walk through the store, purchase unknown items at the checkout, and leave at approximately 1:04 p.m. Kohberger's possible path of travel is depicted below, not to scale. What? It's just arrows?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. They intentionally made the images so terrible, I think.
New poll.
Additional analysis of records for the 8458 phone indicated that between approximately 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m., the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that provided coverage to Johnson, Washington. So I'm interested, are they going to show what he bought at the Albertsons? Watch it just be like tofu. Tofu or something.
Just
soy
basic
milk.
yeah,
and vegetables.
Well, that's why I just asked if people believe that the gloves make Bryan Kohberger look guilty. You know what I mean?
Did he buy gloves?
No, he was supposedly wearing gloves
At the Albertsons?
at both grocery stores. There are two different grocery stores that he visited, and the general mainstream media narrative right now has him wearing gloves. Now, is that the actual evidence?
It doesn't say that here.
I know that. But there's pictures of him. So is that the actual evidence, the objective evidence? I have no idea. But understanding that that could be actual evidence, is that going to be harmful for the defense? Because, and why I'm highlighting that, because sure, that could seem like a really stupid poll and a really stupid question, right? But any behavior that is outside of what we would consider normal, I think has the potential to be used against Bryan Kohberger. So anytime as we're reading through this, I see outside of what the standard norm would be, I'm worried that, that could be used to paint a character image of who he is instead of being used as objective evidence.
Right. Yeah. So there's pictures of him in the grocery store that have been put out online of him wearing gloves.
I said the mainstream media narrative. Yes, that has been talked about significantly.
Yeah, but there's no proof of that.
Yeah, I just said that.
Okay. Because I could have swore you just said there were pictures.
Yeah, there supposedly are pictures. Have I seen them? And is there objective evidence? No, there is no objective evidence.
Okay.
But if there is, could that objective evidence be used as a character painting piece of evidence to make him seem incel, weird, and guilty,
Okay. Maybe. Okay, so again, the phone between 5:32 and 5:36 It was utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage to Johnson, Washington. The 8458 phone then stops reporting to the network from approximately 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. That's quite a long time. That is consistent with the 8458 phone being the area that the 8458 phone traveled in the hours immediately following the suspected time the homicides occurred. So what if he went over to Wawa Way Park or, you know what I mean? 3 hours?
Yeah.
It just stopped reporting to the network. And you know what's weird
Which
is
is interesting.
it never even talks about at what time did he return home, because it says that it was from 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. But then they don't say where he went after 8:30 p.m. or where he was or anything. So was he just back home at 8:30 p.m.?
Mm-hmm.
And it turned back on, or like what? I'm so confused.
Yep.
They just
I'm
cut it off
confused
right
too,
there.
and that's part of the reason why I'm curious about the evidence that's going to be coming from Cy Ray, because I don't think they're going to have cellular call data records, the CDR records. I don't think that's what we're going to be seeing here.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be some background application data,
Yeah.
or some something to prove his location using GPS.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's exactly what it's going to be. And him also pointing to, like, well, they should have looked at this. They should have looked at this. Why didn't they? Why don't I have this report? Why am I not seeing this? That kind of thing too.
Absolutely.
He's going to make him look real bad, probably.
Mhm.
I'm curious what solid objective evidence he will have, though. Will he have any? We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so the King Road residence contained a significant amount of blood from the victims, including spatter and cast off. Bloodstain patterns resulting from blood drops released from an object due to its motion, which, based on my training, makes it likely that this evidence was transferred to Kohberger's person, clothing, or shoes. Based on the locations of the suspect vehicle and 8458 phone immediately following the murders, it is probable that Kohberger went home to his residence on 1630 Northeast Valley Road, G201. At that time, it is likely that he still had blood or other trace evidence on his person, clothes, or shoes, including skin cells or hair from the victims or from Goncalves' dog. It is likely that some trace evidence was transferred to areas in his apartment through contact with the items worn during the attack. Interesting, they do have animal hair listed on the what they collected from his apartment, but it's never been said what kind of animal hair. Is it dog hair? Does it look like
That's
Murphy's?
a good call out. I don't know, but that would look bad.
If that's Murphy's hair, then he's doomed.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
that would look horrible. I'm curious of that. I'm gonna have to ask that question. Hang on, you guys. So I just put up a poll. We'll wait till it gets to, I don't know, 50, 60 votes or something like that. And then I'm gonna ask the question about Murphy's hair. How would that change your perception of his innocence or guilt? If Murphy's hair was found at his apartment. For me, I would need some explanation. I would absolutely need some explanation to understand how that could have possibly happened and why they included 12 stalking trips, but not any trips where he interacted with them. You know what I mean?
Right.
If there was some kind of other explanation, if there was some kind of other explanation, like he had a connection to him, a personal connection to him.
Well, we've heard to the contrary that he had no personal and zero
Right.
connection to the victims. But yeah, if that's Murphy's hair, obviously that would not look good. But I do hear what people are saying, that would be pretty easy to plant. But if you're going to go down that route, it's a hard thing to prove that police framed somebody. It's not easy. So we'll see. Anne would have to. That's just not easy. Okay. So was transferred to areas in his apartment through contact with items worn during the attack. Okay. Which is interesting because it appears they don't believe he cleaned up after the crime. They're saying he would have had to have got trace evidence in his apartment.
Yeah, and
that's another thing.
What's interesting,
but there's nothing in the car.
I think part of the reason we don't hear about this very often is the fact that they shot a huge shot here. They went for a full court press or a full court 3-point shot end game, you know, and missed. Like wasn't even inside the court kind of miss anymore. You know what I mean? Because of that.
Yeah.
Because they said that his car was going to be a rolling petri dish and his apartment must have all kinds of evidence. And then for them to come out and there not be evidence in either.
I know.
Oof. That's a big shot and a
big miss.
An even bigger miss.
One likely location for the clothes, mask, shoes that he was wearing during the attack would be his residence. While I believe Kohberger is visiting family in Pennsylvania over the current school break at WSU, I believe he intends to return for the start of the next semester, so I expect his belongings to still be in his residence at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, G201. To date, we have not recovered the weapon used in the homicides, which would indicate that he took it with him from the scene. Based on my training, that weapon will likely contain trace evidence on it, such as blood or skin or hair from the crime scene. One likely location for the weapon or any sheath for the weapon would be his residence.
Wait, say that one more time.
One likely location for the weapon or any sheath for the weapon would be his residence? Sheath? I thought you guys found the sheath at the crime scene. I never caught that before.
Whoa.
They never found the weapon, and he's saying a likely place for the weapon or sheath would be at the residence? But
that's strange. That's really strange.
Because they're implying that sheath is the one for the knife that he used, or are they implying there's multiple knives, so multiple sheaths?
Multiple murder weapons?
There could be.
That's
I never caught that before.
And that is an amazing catch right there. That is an amazing catch. Why is it plural? One likely location for the weapon or any sheath for the weapon would be his residence.
You don't have multiple sheaths for one knife.
Yeah. I after I reread that, I realized it's not about it being plural. It's the fact that they're making a comment or assumption that there wasn't a sheath for the murder weapon. That's what that's saying.
What do you mean?
One likely location for the weapon or any sheath for the weapon. For the weapon would be his residence. But the sheath for the weapon was found at 1122.
Is what they're claiming. So why did they word it like that?
Yeah, that's strange. Really strange.
Yeah, it's weird verbiage.
And what's even weirder is like this case is huge, is massive. And I'm sorry, but like I'm going to be a little critical here. Being in sales and working in corporate with corporate America, when you submit a really important report or you submit a proposal or you submit an opportunity or you submit any of these things, you have to include a whole bunch of data and information in them. One of the most important things that you can do is have other eyes look at it. No matter what, no matter how small or how big of a deal it is, you go get other people to look at this, okay? Before you submit it as a final draft, document, report, opportunity, whatever. Did that happen here?
Right. Well, I mean, Payne and Blaker's affidavits are so similar. I would think so. They're so similar. They had to have written them like basically together, or been like, hey, send me yours. I'm going to copy and paste some parts and then add my own, so I can make sure it's the same as yours. And then add some additional details that I experienced.
They're working on it together. So I would assume that they would be writing them side by side. Wouldn't that be the important thing?
I don't know, but that's a really odd way to word it. Like, it just is odd. Like, you said you found the sheath, but now you're saying any weapon or any sheath for the weapon would likely be at his house. Like, that just... I don't know. Did he just slip up and make a mistake? It just I don't know. It's weird. Curious what you guys think about it, though. Like, you wouldn't be looking for the sheath. You'd be looking for the weapon that matches the sheath you have.
I agreed.
Unless this
is a singular statement.
Yeah.
For the weapon.
Yeah, they have not recovered the weapon used in the homicide. So they're making it sound like it is just one weapon.
Right.
And with a K-bar, you wouldn't normally have multiple sheaths. You would have the sheath that came with it. So it just is, I don't know. That's weird.
Or we're going to find that there was more than one. Can you imagine what is going to come out, the questions, what people are going to think, and what stories are going to be ran if we find out there's more than one weapon? Okay, can we take a break right here real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so I want to show you something real quick.
Okay.
Okay. Everyone understands the mainstream narrative, right?
Yeah.
It goes without saying, right? The mainstream narrative believes 100% Bryan Kohberger is guilty. This was a thorough investigation, and all parties involved in mainstream media and everything having to do with this have, for the most part, sided with law enforcement to show that, right? To back law enforcement's story.
Right.
Okay. So watch this.
Bryan Kohberger said that prosecutors are withholding information from the defense team. His attorney argues that 2 upcoming hearings this month should be made public and says prosecutors have not provided the full video that allegedly shows Kohberger's white Hyundai by that home where the 4 students were killed. Kohberger's attorney also arguing that the case should be continued to be made public. The prosecuting deputy attorney rebutting, though, saying that while the trial will be public, not all of the hearings should be due to the information being discussed. Now, Kohberger is accused of stabbing and killing Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin in their home just off of the university's campus back in November of 2022. Here now to discuss the very latest developments in this case, News Nation legal analyst and criminal trial attorney Sarah Azari. Sarah, thanks for joining us on this tonight.
Good to be with you, Natasha.
So, Sarah, the families of the victims are so frustrated right now. They're speaking out saying that this case is turning into what they are calling a hamster wheel of motions here.
Okay, just remember, this is the part. We have never heard anything like this before, okay?
Hearings and delayed decisions. What do you make of Kohberger's attorney's latest claims?
Yeah, I empathize with the families of these victims. It's difficult to be waiting for justice in such a horrific case and not really understanding that these are not delays for the sake of delay. The biggest, I think the heaviest claim, the recent claims that Ann Taylor's made, to me is the one that stands out is the idea that the prosecution is withholding evidence. That's really, really important. And you pointed out the video. We're past the idea that we don't have everything and not everything is ready. Now it's intentional. Ann Taylor has been very careful about saying in these motions that she's not accusing the prosecution of withholding evidence. And now she's saying they are withholding evidence because we're coming up on almost 2 years since the crime, and discovery should be complete. There's a price to pay. The defendant is deprived of his right to a fair trial. The judge might say that the evidence is kept out, doesn't get to come in at trial. And, we're seeing this in the Scott Peterson case. If some of this is Brady evidence, decades later, if Kohberger is convicted, it could pave the way to an exoneration. So it's a very serious accusation. And I think it's true.
Yeah, that is such an important point. And, let's talk about the alibi.
Did you hear that? I'm not on mute, right? No. Okay, we're good.
I think it's true.
Yeah, that is such an important point.
I think it's
and,
true.
Let's talk about the alibi here. Kohberger's attorneys claiming he does have an alibi for the night that these 4 students were murdered. They claim that he was driving in several areas outside of that town that evening, that he was not near the home. Prosecutors now argue that his alibi comes up short of the legal standard. They are urging the judge to reject it. It seems like an easy way to confirm his whereabouts would be to use his cell phone data.
Isn't that crazy? We'll finish the rest of this video. It's worth it. But isn't that crazy? Before she moves on to her cell phone evidence.
Yeah.
So she literally says that she believes it. She feels like it's true that they have additional evidence that they aren't sharing.
Yeah.
On mainstream media. This is a 180 from what we have been seeing for the last 2 years.
Yeah, but
that is interesting.
It is interesting. It's interesting, especially on News Nation, but I'd like to see what Bandfield thinks about it. Or Nancy Grace.
Listen, there's always going to be people that are on one side or the other. But what is a massive deal to me is that the editors, the people who help create the narratives for these videos and the topics, they are getting to a point where they're like, wait, hang on.
Yeah,
is this real?
But
is
hold
this
on,
reliable?
I get it, but they're interviewing somebody, and I don't know who this lawyer is. But how do we know she hasn't been unbiased this entire time?
I'm sure she has, but the difference is that mainstream media has not been promoting it.
Okay,
it has not been shared.
Yeah, but I'm also not familiar with this news anchor. Are you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Has she been promoting really biased information?
She's been on site before.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, News Nation. Don't get all personal when you're talking about a news anchor. News anchors don't give their opinion.
Banfield kind of does.
No, they don't. Anyone who thinks that you are dead wrong. Everything is planned out beforehand. They don't take risks like that. Like here, yeah, unscripted. Go right ahead, guys. No, that's not how media works. That's not how videos for network companies work. Everything is planned out ahead of time, and everything's planned out ahead of time, and there's no room for opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no room for opinion. So, all right, ready? Are we ready to finish here?
Okay.
But we see prosecutors saying that information does not rise to the level of an alibi. Cell phone data has been used in other cases as evidence, so why shouldn't it be used in this case?
I think there's got to be some reason forensically that his data maybe is not conclusive of where he was. But let's talk about cell tower data. The idea of connectivity of his phone to cell towers. Up until now, prosecutors have been saying the fact that his phone was not connecting to the cell towers that were connected to the area around the crime scene, that means he's a savvy murderer. He was the guy who slayed these 4 people and then turned off his phone. But now suddenly when he's trying to use same cell data from towers in a different area to show that he was somewhere else, which is what an alibi is, somehow now it's inadequate. I mean, that's kind of convenient. I think that inadequacy and reliability of cell data evidence is something that the jury will ultimately decide, and it's going to be a battle.
So, did you hear that? that she, a mainstream media anchor, is even saying the same exact thing that girl who I showed in the beginning, that Lana Marie or whatever is, that yeah, all of a sudden now they are not wanting to, support the evidence, the cell
of
records.
experts, but an alibi is an alibi, that the person was not at the crime scene, they were somewhere else at that time, and that it's corroborated. And in the age of digital footprints and cell data, why not have it corroborated by cell data information, and also experts who can testify about it?
News Nation legal analyst Sarah Azari on this. Thank you so much.
Wild, right?
So I did see a few people in the chat, like multiple, say that Sarah Azari is has been interviewing her multiple times, and she's always been unbiased, and she's even on the Dateline episode about this case or something too. So I guess this particular News Nation broadcast is usually unbiased, whereas others, a part of New Nation, are not unbiased. So I didn't know that. I honestly haven't seen too much of her on News Nation personally myself.
I'm telling you, there is an overall general consensus of what a case will be perceived as on mainstream media and in the mainstream narrative. And this idea, this narrative has not ever been shared, promoted, or shown.
Okay, but maybe on
Never.
her show, like,
I mean, I would love to do some research and find out, because statistics are like, I love statistics. That is my thing. So show me, the breakdown and percentage of bias towards guilt versus bias towards innocence versus unbiased.
I would like to see that too, but
I already
mean,
know which way it leans.
that's
but,
fine. But if she specifically has been promoting this type of more unbiased content, I don't want to lump her in and say she's like all the rest.
I mean, what? The mainstream media narrative has all been the same. All of it.
I agree for the most part, but that doesn't mean that there aren't certain shows that aren't that way.
We'll have to do some research, because on her as a news anchor. I'm saying there aren't. I'm saying that it's easy to take something that is like a generalization that's being used to promote his guilt by character assassination, whether with intention or unintentional, because mainstream media wants law enforcement to trust them and feed them information, so they support law enforcement no matter what. That could totally be the case too. However, it doesn't change the fact that all the way up until recently, there has not been unbiased Bryan Kohberger coverage.
For the most part, yes, there has
and
not.
It's part of the reason. It's not even for the most part. It is like a complete and total cover. And like part of the reason why we end up getting lumped in pro-burgers or tin hat or people that think that Bryan Kohberger is innocent and it's all a conspiracy is because we have questioned law enforcement from the beginning. From the beginning. We did one show on Idaho 4, and we weren't sure how we were feeling about, his innocence or guilt. And the second show we did, I was able to read through the cellular data and details of that. And that's where it began. That's where, for the first time, I was like, whoa, what is going on here? What we're reading doesn't make sense. From the PCA, there was already information in there that was not true, that had no backing, no foundation, nothing.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, that it's been like it's a character assassination campaign. I agree. Like, I'm not saying that isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that if one particular show has not been that way, like, to use them as the example as the shift, I don't feel like is fair. I would need to see a shift on shows that have been super biased, like Court TV, Vinnie Politan. Like, Banfield, like the Morning Report with whoever, and all these shows,
there
all
are
of these.
multiple that have been.
There's been a ton.
The fact that what's her face, the other attorney, you know who I'm talking about.
Andrea Burkhart has been on Jesse Weber.
The fact that Andrea Burkhart came on Jesse Weber just recently and was allowed to speak openly her opinion this time, whereas the first time she went on Jesse Weber, she was not. She was actually given the platform to speak openly about her own concerns with this case. In my opinion, that's evidence too.
And Jesse Weber was super nice to her.
And he wasn't the case.
Yeah, he wasn't the first time.
Yeah, exactly. So in my opinion, that is very good evidence that we could possibly be seeing a shift, a change, an altering of the winds and weather. To
be quite honest, Nancy Grace, even though she's been super biased towards Kohberger's guilt, she did in one of her recent shows actually admit there was a super big hit to the prosecution's case because they just admitted there's no stalking. She's like, so then how are you going to explain this to jurors of why he even did this? You just took away the motive.
Yeah.
That's a huge hit to your case. So even she admitted that. So I'm curious, as more holes get poked, is she going to start questioning it even more? Like, than just being like, well, that was a really big hit to your case. Like, I noticed a change in tone with her. She was a little bit different in that past one. Not as hard as she normally is, but I mean, she's still really hard, guilter, but
absolutely. And what drives me up the wall is why they are so firm on his guilt. That is what drives me up the wall. What evidence have you seen that makes you believe that he is guilty? That is my biggest question. Look, it is so wrong. And that's, again, why I talked about the Lawyer You Know's Twitter post at the very beginning of this, which I can read again, you guys. Towards the end, I'll read it again. But when the general consensus is that the defendant is guilty, we don't question law enforcement's investigation. That's wrong. That is the wrong thing to do, because you don't know when all of a sudden you're going to be sitting behind the defendant's table. In the cases where the defendant is guilty, we need to be questioning law enforcement and the validity and thoroughness and honesty and trustworthy of the investigation in the same way that we need to be questioning it when the defendant seems innocent.
Yeah, and you can go ahead and pull up that tweet and read it, and I'll start reading from the document while I'm waiting on you to pull it up. If you want to.
I can. Yeah, let me see. It's just
you already have it. Okay.
Yep. So this is by Lawyer You Know, who we showed earlier. So it's so interesting to me how much more heavily law enforcement is scrutinized during a trial where people believe the defendant is innocent. No one has a problem with defense attorneys putting them through the ringer. But if they don't like the defendant or think they're guilty, very similar questioning is seen as rude, bullying, and disrespectful to law enforcement just doing their job. Every case is different, but good defense attorneys scrutinize law enforcement in every case.
Wait, we're not following the Lawyer You Know?
We aren't?
It said follow.
Oh, okay.
I thought we were. That's weird. Okay.
But listen, you guys, I when I read that was a total mind-blowing moment for me.
Yeah.
Mind blown. Because that's so true. And it's part of the reason we deal with the issues of being lumped into pro-burgers with the Bryan Kohberger case.
Yep, I agree. I think that is an incredible thing to point out, and I 100% agree. Okay. So where are we at?
I assume right here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what was the last thing above that? Okay, the sheath thing. Okay.
Okay.
So, based on my training experience, when someone plans an event or action, one likely location for doing so is in their residence or office. One would not want to conduct such planning in public if they're planning a criminal act. And so it is even more likely that planning of a criminal act would be done in one's residence or office. These murders appear to have been planned rather than a crime that happened in a moment of conflict. I believe it likely that Kohberger planned his actions ahead of time. The plans may have included a review of other murders or violent assault / stabbing and or cutting of people, as well as how to avoid detection after the commission of the crimes. Details of the 1122 King Road residence, its location / neighborhood, and or information about one or more of the victims, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, Bethany Funk, and or Dylan Mortensen. Further, based on my training and experience, criminals utilize electronic digital evidence as well as paper or other media in conducting planning of crimes, just as non-criminals use various media to plan activities. Therefore, there is probable cause to believe that digital evidence or digital devices were used and or being used in furtherance of the listed crimes.
That would be so funny if Kohberger catches on as pro-justice, and like even after this case, someone just said, "Is Kohberger a term for pro-justice?" That would be hilarious if, like, from here on out, Kohberger means, like, you know, pro-justice.
Yeah, it's just adopted by the community,
right?
Or to avoid detection for the listed crimes and likely contain evidence of the listed crimes. So he's essentially just saying, I find it interesting. He included, for one, he said this crime appears to be planned. This wasn't a moment of conflict. This was planned. That's more confirmation, though. We already knew that. So he also mentions that Bethany or Dylan could have been targets and need information on them, which is interesting. I'm not sure that Payne's PCA says that. I don't recall it saying that. And also that evidence could be on his devices. Evidence of the crimes described in this application could be contained in any type of digital device. The terms digital device and device include all devices capable of capturing and or storing digital data, such as computers, digital cameras, modems, routers, external memory drives, thumb drives, cellular telephones, GPS navigation devices, etc. Data stored on digital devices and media can be easily transferred from one device or storage media to another. Forensic experts and others with experience in retrieving and analyzing digital data have established the following. Digital devices typically retain some evidence of all activity taken via the device or associated media, and as such could contain evidence of crime. For example, data, whether stored intentionally or unintentionally, can contain evidence of knowledge, intent, efforts to conceal, sell, or dispose of evidence or proceeds of criminal activity, accomplice identity, association with victims, or geographic location of the device possessor at particular dates and times. This information can be in numerous forms, such as photographs, address books, or contact lists, or communication with others through means such as phone calls, email, instant messaging, social media, chat sessions, or other digital communications.
And just remember, everyone, there is a Q&A, a live Q&A up, whereas hopefully we can get to that tonight. If not, we're going to answer the questions here eventually. But there is a Q&A up. So if you have specific questions, especially cell phone related, network related, anything in between, or Idaho 4 related, go ahead and throw them in that Q&A. I believe somebody said that on iPhones, if you hit ask question, it will let you into submit the Q&A.
Okay.
Yep.
Where's ask question at?
I'm not sure. I didn't
It
try
doesn't.
to
It doesn't pop up on mine
figure it
anywhere.
out. Somebody had said that. I'll find out for everyone.
Okay. So, evidence can remain on the device or media for indefinite periods of time after the communication originally took place, even if deleted by the user. Information deleted
Okay,
by
I
the
figured it
user
out.
may be recovered by a forensic examiner through the working lifespan of the device. Throughout the working lifespan of the device.
So on
Huh.
your iPhone, above the chat on the right hand side, there is the 3 bars that look like a hamburger menu with settings like little lines through them.
It looks like a hamburger.
Yeah, like the hamburger menu. It is just to the left of the X. If you hit that and hit chat filter all messages, then the Q&A pops up and it lets you click ask something. So if you have questions,
Okay.
go ahead and hop in there and put them in there. Because I know we have a lot of people on phones, except for, you know, the 120 people that are one people. So hop on there and submit your questions and we will get to them.
Yeah, we might have to have a whole show just dedicated to answering questions. Just Q&A stream.
For sure.
Digital data. So wait, I want to ask you something real quick. So
Yeah.
it says user data, basically. So data, even if it's deleted, can be recovered by forensic examiner throughout the working lifespan of the device. It basically said if you
For the
delete
working lifespan.
Yeah, I was wondering what that meant, and they're also saying that like even if you delete something, the data's still there forever.
Okay.
Is that true?
No, not always, but I mean, there are reasons why it could be true, but it's not always true. Blanket statement across the board. But sure, I mean, there are reasons why it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so when I was on my phone, that's what it was doing too, you guys. It was only showing the poll and it wasn't showing the ask question thing. But Brennan figured it out. If you need to make sure you're in all messages, but I don't know. It's really weird how it works. And it's different for every device. So I hope you guys can figure it out. Just try to look at settings like right there on the chat. Look for any kind of menu. Okay. So, digital data can be found in numerous locations and formats. Evidence can be embedded into unlikely files for the type of evidence, such as a photo included in a document or converted into a PDF file or other format in an effort to conceal their existence. Information on devices and media can be stored in random order with deceptive file names, hidden from normal view, encrypted or password protected, and stored on unusual devices for the type of data such as routers, printers, scanners, game consoles, and other devices that are similarly capable of storing digital data. Wholly apart from user-generated files and data, digital devices and media typically store often without any conscious action by the user. Electronic evidence pertaining to virtually all actions taken on the digital device, and often information about the geographical location at which the device was turned on and or used. This data includes logs of device use, records of the creation, modification, deletion, and or sending of files, and uses of the internet, such as uses of social media, websites, and internet searches / browsing. And remember, you guys, exactly what they're talking about is what Bryan Kohberger literally went to school for.
Oh,
this is
I didn't mean to end that.
This is
go ahead.
forensics. This is cloud-based forensics. This is, digital forensics. This is what he went to school for. Is how to obtain this information from devices.
100%. And again, I think that there is an argument there that could be made of, again, the character painting of who Bryan Kohberger is and why they didn't want that information out there. Because there are a few things that are technology related that have to do with Bryan Kohberger. And those things are, not being open and honest up front with how many different technology devices were at his home, not being open, honest, and upfront about Bryan Kohberger's profession or his specific specialty in law enforcement. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Device-generated data also includes information regarding the user identity at any particular date and time, usage logs and information pertaining to the physical location of the device over time, pointers to outside storage locations such as cloud storage, or devices to which data may have been removed, and information about how the off-site storage is being used. If the device is synced with other devices, it will retain a record of that action. Digital device users typically do not erase or delete this evidence because special software or use of special settings are usually required for the task. However, it is technically possible to delete this information. Wouldn't that be interesting? Because it mentioned routers and modems in here.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember, I believe it was Steve Goncalves that was, spreading the information around that Bryan Kohberger's phone connected to the router at the 1122 King Road residence. And we're like, that's not possible unless it was an open network to where it could connect to anybody, like a guest Wi-Fi, like university Wi-Fi, like Starbucks Wi-Fi.
For sure.
That could really only happen if it was an open network, and that is not normal for a residence at all. The only way that could happen is an open network, which I would be weird, or he knew the password.
All right. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a connection to the victim. So if Anne is telling the truth that there's no connection, that's not possible. You know?
Agreed. 100%.
But again, Bryan Kohberger knows how this works. So how stupid would that be to go to their house and try to enter their Wi-Fi password? You know what I mean? If you're there to commit a crime, that would make no sense. Because he would know everything this is talking about. And probably know it much more in depth than we know. Like much more in depth. Where was I?
I'm not sure.
So device-generated data includes information regarding the user identity at any particular date and time, usage logs and information pertaining to the physical location of the device over time, pointers to outside storage locations, such as, I just read this. Okay. Yep, I remember cloud. Digital device users typically do not erase or delete this evidence because special software or use of special settings are usually required for the task. However, it is technically possible to delete this information. Digital devices can also reveal clues to other locations at which evidence may be found. For example, digital devices often maintain logs of connected digital or remote storage devices, a scanner or printer. I think I literally just read all of this. That would identify the digital device of which, I just lost my place. I read it all. My bad, guys. As with other types of evidence, the context, location, and data surrounding information in the device data is often necessary to understand whether evidence falls within the scope of the warrant. This type of information will be important to the forensic examiner's ability to piece together and recognize evidence of the above listed crimes. Digital device programs frequently require passwords, phrases, codes, patterns, fingerprints, and/or usernames to operate. Those may be kept inside a device/media or outside in some other area known for the user. So in addition to searching a digital device and media for evidence of the above listed crimes, investigators will need to search both the premises searched and the digital devices for this information. The forensic examiner may also need the following items in order to conduct a thorough and accurate search of the devices: computer hardware, software, peripherals, internal or external storage devices, power supplies, cables, internet connection, and use information, security devices, software, manuals, and related material. And we know they collected a lot of computers of Bryan Kohberger's, most likely old computers that he never threw away because there were several broken ones. So we know they got just a treasure trove when it comes to his history online and everything he's been looking up for probably many years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if they didn't find anything at all on there, even despite, him knowing what he knows, like, especially with the old computers, if they found nothing on there to indicate anything, like, really showing that, he was interested in this kind of stuff, looking up this kind of stuff, trying to get, getting comfortable with these ideas of killing somebody, then I mean, that would be questionable.
Insane. Yeah.
Questionable that he would be the guy. Motion or modern digital devices and media can contain many gigabytes and even terabytes of data. Oh, could that be part of the 51 terabytes? How many devices they collected from him? Data from his devices, data from other people's phones that they cleared. Data from every victim's device.
I mean,
think about that.
Yeah.
All of his computers and devices, all the victims' computers and devices.
I did. I just
That's
had to
a
think
lot of
about
data.
it for a second. So yeah, it is a lot of data. It's like the Garrett discovery that we have talked about multiple times here, that that there are connections to everybody in that area.
Yeah.
So, what's interesting though is if they're going to try to sell this stalking narrative, then they're going to have to be able to show some sort of personal connection, because we know traditionally stalkers act a certain way. And in this case though, so far we haven't seen anything that has anything to do with stalking,
Mm-hmm. Make sure we're keeping it PG-13 in the chat.
Yeah, where is that?
Down. Just letting you know, please keep it PG-13. No, try not to make any sexual references, okay? So, I don't know what were you just saying? I don't know how to respond because I saw
the
that.
Garrett discovery is literally what this is talking about right here and what you're referencing to.
Okay, so you know what I just thought of? Do you remember yesterday we read an article from Long Crime, you guys, and we shouted out a Twitter user, Heavenly Stars, for it, and she actually tweeted us back and thanked us for shouting her out. And yeah,
that's
I
awesome.
was really appreciative of that. Thank you, and complimented the show. I love that. But anyway, that article said that Bryan Kohberger, when he was asked by the police officers if he knew what had happened with these homicides, he said, "Of course, I'm only 10 miles from it."
Right.
So with the Garrett discovery, like, was that him looking up the victim's social media after the crime?
No, I don't think so.
With the Garrett discovery? Like, that's how there could be an outgoing link to their profiles?
Maybe
could he have looked up their social media
I'm not 100%
profiles?
sure on it. I don't know.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
I don't know
we don't
either.
Have I know that. Obviously. So I don't know when the date of Garrett discovery was done.
Oh, right.
So could it have been that they ran all of this discovery and interests and research and everything before Bryan Kohberger was arrested? And once Bryan Kohberger was arrested, Bryan Kohberger was on a list of 10,000 contacts, okay? And he happened to be one of those 10,000 contacts. So instead of him being somebody else's bullet point or connection, they just altered it and turned him to the focal point and then drew connections from him. You know what I mean? Like, all that data could have been sitting there, and the starting point might not have been Bryan Kohberger until his arrest.
And
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So like Garrett Discovery could have been working on the case, looking at what the victims' accounts were connected to and what the people they were connected to, what their accounts are connected to. And Kohberger is somewhere on that line, somewhere down on that line. And after Kohberger's arrest, they released this information on Kohberger.
Yes.
Because he was connected somehow. And you guys, it could be so far down the line. Like it could be, couldn't it? Like he was connected to somebody who was connected to the victims.
Yeah.
Or connected to this person who is connected to this person that's connected to the victims. Like he went to WSU and so did Jasmine Kernodle. There could be a connection there.
Yeah, there could be. And I see people talking about that the Garrett Discovery is fake. I do not believe it's fake, you guys. Hang on.
Now, some emails that have come out about it might be fake. I don't know. I have no confirmation of it. And I'm not saying the people that have put out those emails are, pulling our legs and lying to us. I am not suggesting that. And I respect most content creators. I think I
respect all.
I don't think there's very many who are coming out here intentionally lying and deceiving. I think they get bad information sometimes, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not calling anybody out by saying that. It's just some information and it was a little concerning to me and I just have no confirmation and I am always going to verify for myself before I believe something, just as you should.
Yeah. Absolutely. I always say, don't ever believe us or take what we're saying as fact. I will always say that no matter what, even when I'm talking about evidence that I have a ton of experience on, anything network related. I have a lot of experience with network technology, but still, I don't want you to believe me. I don't want you to take anything I'm saying as fact. I don't want you to look at me as an expert giving concrete evidence, because that's not how it works. That is not a good investigation. That is not looking into details, facts, and verifying those details and facts. I just hope to be a carrot. Now,
and there could be fake Bryan Kohberger accounts on the Garrett Discovery.
Yeah, but oh man. So Garrett Discovery, whatever that document was intentional and legitimate. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Garrett Discovery's success of their company, which is, I looked into their annuals. Okay. They make a lot.
Okay.
It hinges on the success that they provide. This has probably been one of the biggest marketing pieces that they've ever had for them. Okay. So there is no room for it to be fake. There is no room for it to be wrong. There is no room for anything even similarly like that or anything in between. What I think it is an intentional either A, dig into fake accounts, because law enforcement has proven that that criminals that can conduct crimes like this want to be close to the investigation. They want to be involved and they want to, obsess over it and be a part of any place that they can be. And two, this could be digging into Bryan Kohberger post-crime, pre-crime, and all the accounts that flooded his
Yeah. And I feel like for
profile.
the people, I don't know if you guys watched our video we did on the Garrett Discovery, because we dove into it and gave a breakdown of what it is. And I think a lot of people who don't trust it are not trusting it because it's showing, Kaylee and Maddie's name on it. But the thing is all that list of people on there, Instagram users, is not the people that Kohberger's account was following. That's not what it means. And that's what we dove into, explaining explaining how these connections work. And it's a graph is what it is.
Yep.
It's a piece of software they use that makes a graph basically showing all the connections off of an account.
Well, it's
just like
it's data
think of-
mining.
Yeah,
it's
hold on.
raw data mining.
Think of like a family tree, okay? As a simple explanation, because everybody knows what that looks like. You have a mom and a
Yeah.
dad, and you
Good
have
example.
kids, and then you have their kids, grandkids, and then you have their kids, great grandkids, and it's like then you have cousins that are like third and fourth removed. So like Kohberger could have interacted with somebody's account who interacted with the victim's account. It's just links that connect these, but it doesn't mean he ever visited their accounts. It doesn't mean that he followed them. Like, we don't know what it means. It's just a bunch of lists of connections that were made, but it doesn't mean there's a link between him and the victims, like directly, that he even knew who they were or anything. So yeah, it's a nothing burger. It is. It's a nothing burger for right now until there's more context added to it.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Okay, so where are we at here?
So the modern digital devices and media can contain many gigabytes and even terabytes of data due to the potential for an extremely large volume of data contained in devices and media, and the fact that evidence can be stored / located in unanticipated locations or formats and or embedded in other items stored on the device / media. Investigators typically need to use specialized equipment in their search. Such large volumes of data also mean that searches can take days or even weeks to complete. For these reasons, I request authority to remove from the search location all digital devices and media that could contain evidence authorized for seizure under the warrant for subsequent search. Okay, so he wants all media and devices from Kohberger's apartment. I also request authority to obtain assistance from a technical specialist to review the digital devices and digital media for the best and least intrusive method of securing digital evidence that this warrant authorizes for seizure, and to assist in securing such evidence. Based on all the foregoing information, there is probable cause to believe that evidence of the above listed crimes exists in the below described digital devices, and that there is probable cause to seize and search those devices for the evidence of the above crimes for the date range August 21st, 2022 at 11:59 p.m. on November 14th, 2022, including evidence of accounts associated with this device, including email addresses, social media accounts, messaging app accounts, and other accounts that may be accessed through the digital device that will aid in determining the possessor / user of the device, photographs, images, videos, documents, and related data created, accessed, read, modified, received, stored, sent, moved, deleted, or otherwise manipulated between the above dates, evidence of use of the device to conduct internet searches related to a review of other murders or violent assaults, stabbings, and or cutting of people, as well as how to avoid detection after the commission of such crimes, details of the 1122 King Road house, its location, neighborhood, and or information about one or more of the victims: Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, Bethany Funk, and or Dylan Mortensen. Information that can be used to calculate the position of the device between the above dates, including location data, GPS satellite data, GPS coordinates for routes, and destination queries between the above listed dates, app data, or usage information and related location information, IP logs, or similar internet connection information, and images created, accessed, or modified between the above listed dates, together with their metadata and what is that? EXIF tags? EXIF tags?
Yeah.
Is that what it
like
says?
Picture like I don't remember what EIX means. It's just a file type.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's exchangeable image. Exchangeable image.
I've never seen a media file with that on it. So that's something to do with the metadata then?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
file type. Yep.
Evidence of the identity
It's
of
tags of the picture for exchangeable information. Yeah.
Okay. Evidence of the identity of the person in possession of the device on or about any times that items of evidentiary value located pursuant to this warrant were created, modified, accessed, or otherwise manipulated. Such evidence may be found in digital communications, photos and video, and associated metadata, IP logs, documents, social media activity, and similar data. Based on ISP investigators' view of the apartment on December 27th, 2022. So they went to his apartment before they arrested him? I know that 1630 Northeast Valley Road is a 3-story, multiple occupancy apartment building
to
in
identify
Pullman.
his car, maybe?
He wasn't there. He was in Pennsylvania. In Pullman, Washington, which is tan and white in color. Apartment G201 is located on the northeast corner of the 2nd story of this building. So they didn't probably go in or anything, but they went out there and like scoped it out. The door to G201 is located on the east side of the 2nd story landing and is designated by the numbers 201 on the door. The door is white with a swinging screen door on the outside of the main door to the residence. Kohberger has been identified as the occupant of this apartment on leasing documents obtained via subpoena as part of this investigation. Investigators have been informed via the postal inspector that Kohberger is the only person receiving mail at apartment G201. This leads investigators to believe he's the sole occupant. Based on all the above information, I conclude that there is probability that Kohberger committed the 4 murders at the King Road residence. I have probable cause to believe evidence of the crimes committed at the King Road residence will be found at Kohberger's residence located at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment G201, Pullman, Washington. I have probable cause to believe that Kohberger committed the crimes of murder, 1st degree, Idaho code, and there's all the codes, in 4 counts, and burglary, and there's all the codes, all felonies. Mr. Kohberger has been charged with the above offenses in Latah County.
Yep. So this is the important right here.
Based on all the information above, I am seeking a search warrant for the Kohberger residence to search for 1. Blood or other bodily fluid or human tissue or skin cells or items with blood or other bodily fluid or human tissue or skin cells on the items. 2. Knives, sheaths, or other sharp tools, including any dagger, dirk? What's a dirk?
Isn't that a type of knife?
Or sword? What? I've never heard of a dirk.
Yeah, it is a long-bladed thrusting dagger.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Or sword and any written indicia of ownership of same, including sales receipts. Any images, whether digital or on paper, of any other format which shows Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, Bethany Funk, or Dylan Mortensen, and or the house at 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, and or the surrounding neighborhood. Clothing, including to but not limited to dark shirts, dark pants, mask, shoes with diamond patterned sole.
Van style shoes. I wish I brought mine up here today.
Right?
Yeah.
5, trace evidence including DNA from blood or skin cells or other source, footprints, fingerprints, hair, whether human or animal/dog.
No van style shoes, just the Thought Riot podcast skateboard. We need to give this away as a giveaway.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. 6, data compilations, whether digital/electronic or on paper or other format, showing an interest in or planning of murder, violent assault, stabbing and or cutting of people, and data compilation showing details of the 1122 King Road house, its location, and or any information about Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, Bethany Funk, and or Dylan Mortensen, and data compilation showing the location of Bryan Kohberger or the cell phone with number 509-592-8458 on November 13th, 2022.
Gosh, 5,000 people.
Including Wi-Fi
More than
logs
last night.
and data or metadata associated with photos, social media posts, or applications on cell phones or computer towers, laptops, tablets as example, but not intended to be an exclusive list of data compilations being sought. Ledgers, papers, lists, books, notes, letters, calendars, address books, contact lists, diaries, tapes, photographs, videos, emails, text messages, social media posts / messages, and metadata associated therewith. 7, electronic / digital devices or digital storage devices, which may contain any of the above data compilations, cell phones, computer towers, laptops, tablets, external hard drive, CD, DVD, thumb drive, or other data storage devices. This includes any device which may contain evidence of other accounts with this device, including email addresses, social media accounts, messaging app accounts, and other accounts that may be accessed through the digital device that will aid in determining the possessor / user of the device. So they're saying that, you know what I just thought of?
What?
Can you can you have a computer basically and use applications on a storage device so that the information isn't being stored on your computer? It's just being stored on the a separate hard drive that you then disconnect from that computer, and then there's no trace of what you were doing on your computer?
Yes. So
Like running a messaging application, or you could download a browser onto an external hard
Well,
drive and use it on only that external hard drive.
well, there would be evidence, kind of, a little bit, I guess. So your compute, so these would be the two units, right? So you have the computer here and the hard drive here. That hard drive, while it has like all the messages on it, all the personal data and details, that hard drive still has to communicate with this computer. So when you connect it, even though the software is running off of this computer is still going to have some data and details in its historical record of communicating to that. Now, would that give any data that could be potentially incriminating? I don't know or think so, but I don't know.
Yeah. And you guys make sure you're in all messages or live chat. It depends on if you're on a
all messages or live chat.
If you're on a phone, normally it says all messages, but if you're on a browser, it'll say live chat.
And one shows the Q&A and one shows the poll on the iPhone, I swear.
That's so dumb.
Yeah. So if you switch to look at the Q&A, then you wouldn't be seeing the polls coming through.
Yeah, I heard there were really bad storms coming throughout the United States. So be careful, everyone, wherever you are. Keep an eye on your weather. It's that season,
Weird.
So I did see somebody in the chat earlier asking what kind of information does a router log? And I also someone just say, well, with my whole storage question, they said, well, your router could still store that information.
Okay.
Is that true? Like, what does a router log?
No, a router wouldn't store any personal data like that. No.
What kind of data does it log then? What does it store?
Device identifications, how much data is going through it, but nothing personal or identifying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't store Google search histories or anything like that.
It's okay. I guess a really good example of that is looking at your CDR, your cell phone, your records, right? Your call detail records, call data record.
Okay.
And when you read that, you see what device, how long it was being used for, and how much data. That's essentially what your router will have too.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so where was I? Messaging apps, other accounts may be accessed through digital devices that will aid in determining the okay. Photographs, images, videos, documents, and related data accessed, read, modified, received, stored, sent, moved, deleted, and otherwise manipulated between the above dates. Evidence of use of the device. Okay, I think I read this. So anything about commission of the crime involving the victims, information that could be used to calculate position of the devices between the above dates, including location data, GPS satellite, GPS coordinates for routes, and destination queries between the above listed dates, app data, or usage. And then we know they got Google search warrants. Or usage information and related location information, IP logs, or similar internet connection information, and images created, accessed, or modified between the above listed dates gathered with their metadata and EXIF tags. Evidence of the identity of the person in possession of the device, on or about any times that the items of evidentiary value located pursuant to this warrant were created, modified, accessed, or otherwise manipulated. Such evidence may be found in digital communications, photos and video, and associated metadata, IP logs, documents, social media activity, and similar data, passwords, phrases, codes, patterns, fingerprints, and or usernames to operate any such device. Indicia of residence in or ownership or possession of the premises, any above items. I'm seeking a search warrant for Kohberger's office at WSU to search for any images, whether digital or on paper or any other format, which show Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, BFDM, or the house. Data compilations. So this is all the same stuff. Metadata, search history, anything and everything, okay? Physical or digital for his office and his home. Anything. Electronic, CDs. Oh my gosh. Who has CDs anymore?
Yeah.
It's probably a good way to store information, though. If you don't want it to be found, you just break it into bits. Evidence of other accounts associated with this device. Okay. Photographs. Literally anything and everything. I don't think I need to keep reading all of this. It's all the same thing repeated over and over and over.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want me to take over? How much more do we have?
What pages? We're basically done. So just read that last little bit.
Okay. So based off the above information, I am also seeking a search warrant for Kohberger's office on the Washington State University campus. I have probable cause to believe evidence of the crimes committed at the King Road residence will be found in Kohberger's office located on the WSU campus at Wilson Short Hall, number 12, Pullman, Washington. It is common for individuals to keep documents, records, and information of the type described above in their office, and Kohberger's office is the other location identified where this evidence could be found. Based off of the WSU website, Kohberger's office is inside Wilson Short Hall. The address of Wilson Short Hall is 1475 Glen Terrell Mall, Pullman, Washington. Wilson Short Hall is a 4-story brick building housing multiple offices. Kohberger's office is number 12. Number 12 is a student office shared by Kohberger and 2 fellow WSU students. Kohberger has been confirmed to be one of the students who utilizes this office. On December 29th, 2022, investigators visited... Wait. I have something to bring up. Investigators visited the office and Kohberger's name in on the outside. Kohberger and office and Kohberger's name is on the outside.
Based
off the above information, I am also seeking a search warrant for Kohberger's office on the Washington State University campus. What? It is common for individuals to keep why is that repeating it? Documents, records, and information of the type described above in their office, and Kohberger's office located and other location identified where this evidence could be found. That's super weird. I don't know why it just says the same thing over and over again. But here's the thing, okay? So do you guys remember the evidence that says and talks about Bryan Kohberger being fired?
Yep.
Let go?
Yeah, but his name was still on the office
His name's
door
there.
on December 29th.
Hello.
Yeah.
His name was on
Well,
the office
look-
building, meaning he didn't get let go or fired until after his arrest.
Yeah, agreed. And people have been calling that out for a long time now because so many
I've never
mainstream
heard this.
well, so many mainstream people have been implying he got fired before because of that professor's issues with him.
I'm
But
gonna pull this if
but-
people knew.
and I don't know that people were actually talking about this part because you're right, this part matters. But people were saying they didn't believe he was fired until after his arrest. I've seen a lot of people say that.
Well, yeah, but
this is comfort-
evidence.
This is evidence. Yeah.
I mean, it's not objective because we don't have a picture ourselves with the date and metadata and time. But this disproves a lot of what we're hearing. And I'm curious what people think. I just put that poll out there. And remember, you might need to switch things around. But did you know Bryan Kohberger's name was still on The Office? Now, what's the most interesting thing to me, like I said, is that this hasn't been talked about. And what's interesting is mainstream media and the narrative alike absolutely knows this documentation. So I know we've read this. We've never done it on camera before in this manner, but we've read this and I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either. It's funny because even going back to the PCA, sometimes I see, I mean, all the documents.
Yeah.
When I go back and
Yeah.
look at them, like, wait, did I read that? Did I even understand that the first time? I think just you have more context.
Yep.
And when you look back, like we've went through all this, we've been watching the court hearings, and then you look back, on all and you have all the things that have been said all this time. You look back and you're like, oh,
Me add a lot.
did I notice this before?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the Richard in the chat, I appreciate that really nice comment that you left. Thank you.
Always at the end of the episode, they start doing logging off in like smaller numbers. It's frustrating because I have to add it all up for marketing dollars. Okay, so let's see here. All right. Let me see.
I don't know why it does that.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's kind of frustrating a little. Okay, so
Can I hide
so
those
much
somehow?
easier. A large number. Okay, I'm ending the Q&A here. So hopefully I can get that last question.
What?
Oh, shoot.
It just disappeared.
It's okay. I copied everything. There's
Okay.
only one I might have missed at the very, very bottom. So, anyways, we are going to have to answer these questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read every single one of them and try and find the evidence and any supporting evidence around this. But man, this was incredible. I feel like I'm walking away from this document with a whole bunch new information, which you wouldn't think because this document was here during the time of his arrest. It's 2 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So tomorrow, do you think we should have just an episode on the Q&A?
Maybe, I don't know. We can. There's too much, and I don't want to start the Q&A right now because we're already at our ending time, depending on when we start. and I don't want to answer one and not anybody else's question. You know, I already feel bad because I accidentally deleted one of the questions, so I apologize for that. It's whoever had the bottom question, the last question asked. So if you recently put a question in that Q&A, it could be yours. Just let me know. But we'll absolutely dig into it.
We got a lot of questions that we can go back and talk about very soon.
Absolutely. But this episode was great. I love it. I learned a lot. I'm walking away from this with, a couple things that I had no idea about. And a couple things that, have given me more questions actually. So, yeah, this is good. I hope you guys had a good time watching this. And, the only thing is, well, yesterday we actually didn't get as many viewers on watching that I expected. The Idaho 4 content tends to get a lot of viewers, not views, but actual viewers, live viewers. And yesterday's, on most days, we have more overall than we had yesterday. Today, though, was a lot. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to do 3 Idaho 4 days in a row. You know what I mean? I feel like we should cover some other cases too. And our other cases have been getting like this great views. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm sitting here trying to think of what we should do, and I don't know. And I'll figure it out between now and tomorrow.
Yeah, and we'll let you guys know what it's going to be.
Absolutely.
So even if we don't do the questions tomorrow, we'll do them the next day.
Yes. And YouTube's literally upside down, but it's going to be upside down as long as we have people messing with the visibility of the show. So hopefully YouTube finally figures that stuff out. The other platforms are killing it though. Like tonight, I think we had like 5,600 people. Yeah. So thank you all. You guys are incredible. And we are doing this because of you. And if you gave money on any of the other platforms, I'm sorry we don't get alerts. I'm sorry. I have to be logged into every single one of those other 4, like pulled up separately. And once we move to the new studio, I will be able to see every single one of them. Screen here, screen there, screen there, screen there. So I will be able to shout them out as they're coming in on every single one of the platforms. And that is coming. So, just keep doing what you guys are doing, sharing it with family, friends, and other. I think that we probably have viewers in South Korea, Germany is huge. Germany is where our show was on the top 5 for national true crime podcasts. So we thank all of you, every single one of you, not just the people that are in the US, not just the people that are, the Western countries, but literally all of you. We see all of you as equals and all of you as the same. So thank you all for being here and supporting us. And yeah,
we appreciate all of you being here. Definitely.
Check us out on all the social media and the podcast platforms. One thing that I forgot to do was post an invite link on YouTube, for Discord. And I am posting that now. For you other 4,000 people, you go to youtube.com, and search Thought Riot Podcast. And in the chat, there is a Discord invite link. You can't join Discord without that invite link. So it's also posted in the description of the video. I need to triple check and make sure I update that. But if you want to join in the chat, you can always come over to YouTube. That has the most hustling, bustling chat. I know that we got some people tonight from Twitter and some people tonight from Twitch. Come hang out.
Yes.
Follow us on all the social medias.
Definitely. And Twitter's at Thought Riot Pod. We're
There we
trying
go.
to, post there regularly, give news updates. If you like following true crime and following current cases, I'm trying to put more effort into that and talk about current cases on there, updates of what we're doing. Come follow us over there.
Yeah, Discord is just a continuation of a chat.
It's a chat room. It's a chat room.
Yep. Where we just continue talking about the cases we're interested in, new cases. We have other content creators on there as well. But yeah, we appreciate all of you.
And have a great night. Catch us next time.
Yes, see you all on the next one.